Giants are 4-1 as they get set to entertain Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
And the Jets get an angry Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Can they make it 2 in a row against the Pack for New York football?
And we'll be joined by the Jets, a member of the Jets all-time team, Greg Buttle. Just a moment. New York, 2 teams, 2 wins, 2 continents. Take 2 this weekend. We'll tell you next. And as always, we're recording this show from high above 42nd Street in the heart of New York City in the Pix 11 Sports Department.
This is the Pix 11 New York Sports Nation podcast.
All right, everybody, as always, thank you for listening to our little show here. If you enjoy what you're hearing, or even if you don't like it, tell some other people to listen. They could be angry at us, too. And always, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. We appreciate it here.
All right, let's start with Greg Buttle. Let's bring him in. Greg, obviously, if you look at the stats, Breece Hall went nuts, almost 200 yards combined on the ground and in the air. But you made a good point earlier. You talked about the offensive line being the key. Can you talk a little bit more about that to our listening public?
Yeah, let me start with philosophy just to begin with. If you want to build a good football team, whether it's in the NFL or it's in college or wherever it is, you start at the offensive line. Number 2, you go from there and you need a quarterback. Number 3, you need a running game. And number 4, you need talent. Now, when I describe those things, I understand that's all-encompassing. But seriously, you take a look at an offensive line, you need to have a tactician on that offensive line. You need to have 2 beasts, and you have to have 2 athletes. Guys that can play different positions, guys that just won't take no for an answer, and a smart guy that can keep everybody in line and understand what's happening on defense. Guess what? Unbeknownst to a lot of the Jet fans this year, I think they have that. Wow. And you got to give Joe Douglas credit. And I'm not talking just about Mekhi Becton, who hasn't played. I'm talking about Herbig. I mean, this guy has played better than I think everyone has imagined. Elijah Vera Tucker, he can play any position. But he's really good at balance and being tough. I think it's great right now what's happening with the offensive line. Number 2, quarterback. I think given the chance to be healthy, Zach Wilson has proven that not only can he play, but he's smart. And you know what else he can do? In the last 3 games, he's made people better around him. And I think that's special. Number 3, running backs. You know I'm not a proponent of running the ball. But the Jets have done it as well as any Jet team that I can tell you in goal line, short yardage, and in the red zone. And those are the 3 important places to run the ball. You don't have to run it for 200 yards. But if you're going to get 80 in those areas and you're going to score 5 rushing touchdowns because of it, man, that's a big checklist. 4, players that can catch the ball. You don't have to be a great game breaker. I think that the New Orleans Saints proved that under Drew Brees. Marcus Colston down there couldn't run a 4.7 40. But if you catch the ball and you run great patterns, you can score from anywhere at any time on the field. The Jets have that. And you know what they have? Out of probably 15 players that the Jets use on their offense, 11 starters, 8 of them are 23 and under. What are you kidding me? That is nothing but awesome stuff if I'm a Jet fan to look at and go, we got something here that we can grab hold of. Now, it's the player's role to play. It's the coach's role to don't overcoach. Let these guys play and let them do what they can do well. I didn't even get to the defense, but that's what the offense.
We'll get to the defense. Moose, you're a connoisseur of great rushing games. Yeah. You were weaned on the Hogs and the Diesel. What do you think of Breece Hall?
Yeah, he's great. I mean, what you've seen from him, the size and speed quotient that he had coming out of Iowa State. Physically, I mean, what you saw this past week against the Miami Dolphins, I think it's just like the tip of the iceberg. Early returns, obviously, the fumble that you saw was able to overcome that. There's a reason why Joe Douglas moved up in the second round of the draft to go get him. They thought he was the best running back in the draft coming out of Iowa State. I think the combination of him and Carter in that backfield, and you could do a lot of different things, as we saw in the Miami game with Breece Hall, in order to get him open and create mismatches offensively.
Joe, we've discussed Joe Douglas and how well he's done. Moose brought it up. Very astute point by him trading up to get Breece. Let's talk about his first-round pick, Sauce Gardner, a safety in his first interception. How impressed are you with him and that side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, he's been able to win in man coverage a lot of times this year, which is exactly what the Jets needed. I mean, I think the fact that he's progressed as much as he had already is beyond what the expectations were for him. I think there were, you expect rookies to struggle, and we've seen a couple moments in communication with his teammates where they've been able to have some big plays because of just miscommunication out there. It's not a lack of talent or physical ability. The guy, I mean, he looks the part out there. He plays the part. He's got that swagger that you need out on the island, the confidence to go, even if I get beat on one play, I'm going to forget that. I'm going to get you next play. And it's contagious throughout the Jets defense, right? Before last week, he was the only guy in that secondary who didn't have an interception. He was cool with that, celebrating for the other guys, but he said he wants to go and get his, and this week he went out there and did it. It was huge.
He certainly did. Mr. Buttle, so obviously we're trying to shed the same old Jets moniker. The Jets now are second in the NFL in fourth quarter points. Is it fair to say that they're a clutch team now?
Clutch is too big a word. Number one, it's a moniker that you have to play a whole season, and you look back on and you go, boy, look at what they did in the fourth quarter. 2 games in the fourth quarter, 4 games in the fourth quarter. I don't know about clutch, but I will tell you what they've done is they've earned the moniker of respect from other teams right now, knowing that this team is not going to give up. They might be young, but they are tough. They are aggressive. And outside of the first game or two, and I chalk that up to preseason. There wasn't a big enough preseason for a young football team to gather hold of what their jobs really are. But after seeing that, and after looking at the way they played, they're looking they're not that far away from being called clutch.
Yeah, I agree. I think it just looks and feels different, however way you want to describe it. You want to say clutch. I mean, I think it's always a positive when a team gets stronger, better as the game does go along. When you're able, as Greg was mentioning before, impose your will, running the ball inside the 20-yard line. When your offensive line is able to take hold, I think that's when you're smart with the football. I think it's a positive when you have a quarterback that can play well in the fourth quarter, especially when you see down 10 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, able to rally that team and score 2 touchdowns and had 2 third-down conversions throws and a fourth-down conversion throw. So all those things are positives. Listen, wins are very, very important, however way you get them. So I think when you're able to keep those games close and you play the game that way, to be able to finish off games is important.
And you look at what's happening right now. The Jets were the team that would falter down the stretch, right, in years past. This game was 19-17 against the Dolphins this week, late, and then the Dolphins miss a field goal that would have put them up 20-17. Then what do the Jets do? They go out and they take the game from there, right? Obviously, that fumble that Quinnen Williams famously was stiff-arming Tyreek Hill. That defense went out and put a stamp on the team. It's fantastic. Jets who? I think Tyreek now knows who the Jets are after this week.
It's like me stiff-arming Joe Messere.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
I mean, I'd like to think that I would put up a bigger fight than that.
Especially with the fact that Hill didn't want to come to the Jets in the offseason.
Right, exactly. He knows who the Jets are now. So I think that was.
Well, I think we also found an answer when Hill was asked the question. Well, I'll get my numbers. Anyone can play quarterback. Apparently not, because Skylar Thompson had no idea what the hell. And he was thrown into an impossible spot.
Yeah.
But still. No, that's the answer to that is no. You actually need an NFL quarterback to get you the football.
Get a Moose. So speaking of an NFL quarterback, Coach Salas said in the offseason, Zach Wilson just needs to manage the game for them to be successful. I feel like he's done a little bit more than that. It's a small sample size this season. But Mr. Buttle, your reaction to his play?
Manage the game, I think, is coach speak for, look, don't be stupid with the ball.
Yep.
Play the play I call, and you know what? Take your medicine. If it's time to punt the ball, take your medicine, and you'll work your way into becoming Zach Wilson NFL quarterback. So that's what I think that means.
Interesting.
Other
Like
than
Clark
that,
Kent going into the phone booth.
Right.
yeah, but let me tell you something. It's Clark Kent.
Yeah.
So here's a
Wow.
kid that, from all indications, is living up to his billing. I mean, yeah, you can say everything you want. The kid missed the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. He's been injured the year before, so you're like a rookie quarterback, you know. So I don't know what his ceiling is, but he looked good the last 2
You know,
weeks.
I love the play where he scores the touchdown there, right? He goes through his reads, nobody's open. The defense obviously has that well played. And, I mean, look, I don't know how sustainable it is in the modern NFL, but I love the fact that he's diving headfirst for the goal line to score that touchdown.
Well, let
in
me
there.
just say something
and
about
that
that
gets
play.
the guys up.
Let me say something,
Yeah.
and you picked a good play to discuss. First of all, he was late on running the ball.
He
Because
should have taken off sooner.
He should know they're in man.
Right.
He knows they're in man. Now I know I can run. Okay, so all of this is processing in his frontal lobe, and he's a young kid yet. But you give him that chance, he's off. Next time he's going to be off because he doesn't suffer fools poorly. He gets it. So that's the one thing I do like about it. Good shot bringing
Thank
that
you.
up there, Joe.
All right.
Got praise from Greg Buttle.
That's
There you
pretty
go.
good, I gotta tell
Tell my
you.
mom.
You should go on vacation with that,
Hope you're
right?
listening, Mom.
Yeah, mom and wife, and I hope anyone's listening, quite frankly. All right, so let's talk about the keys. It's a big game. It's a tough spot, but a lot of people are feeling sort of bullish on the Jets. Let's go around the table. Let's start with Joe. What do they need to do to get a win?
That defensive line needs to put pressure on Aaron Rodgers in a way that they did against Skylar Thompson. Now I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, but I'm of two minds on this game because one, the Jets obviously played their best game, most complete game of the season against the Dolphins, but they were doing it against the third-string quarterback. The Dolphins were without two cornerbacks starting as well. Their tackles were banged up in this one, so essentially two backup tackles, third and fourth string. But the Jets have dealt with that on their own side of the ball, right? But Skylar Thompson, I think, was pressured 60% of his dropbacks here. They only had 2 sacks for it, but he was under pressure every time he threw the ball. And if they can do that, obviously, I think it's going to be difficult for Aaron Rodgers to get the ball off because his wide receivers have not been winning their one-on-one battles. I think the Patriots exposed these wide receivers out there, and it's clear that Rodgers is not on the same page with them. The Giants did the same thing in the second half over in London, and I think the Jets do have the cornerbacks to stay with the wide receivers. So if they can put pressure with their front and those cornerbacks in the secondary can win in man coverage, then I think the Jets have a chance in this game.
Greg, what can they learn from how the Giants' defensive line played against Aaron Rodgers last week, shut out their offense in the second half?
Again, it's like, two different things. Both teams are going to attack them differently, but the Jets' defense plays a little differently than the Giant defense does, and I didn't see much of the Giants' defense or the Giants' game, but it'll tell you whether you can blitz them or you can play them zone, or you have to play man under. That's what it's going to tell the Jets, and then it's again up to what Joe Masseri just said. It's their defensive line has come to play. Now, the first couple of weeks, it didn't matter because they were all out of whack offensively. They had backup
Right.
Joe, so it didn't matter. I mean, those things just happened. The offense wasn't scoring. But when you can have a Jets defense, get quarterback hits, put pressure on the quarterback, get a couple sacks, that changes the game. And if it changes the game, it makes your corners better.
Yeah, one thing here, Buttle, is the success that this front has come from, I think, the rotations that they've been able to do so that everybody stays fresh out there. We know Aaron Rodgers is a master of getting that ball hiked really quickly and getting that penalty, which gives you the free shot down the field, which he takes every single time, and I can't believe more quarterbacks don't do it. So the Jets need to be on that this week. No too many men on the field that gives the Packers free plays to take a shot downfield because eventually he's going to hit one of those.
Yeah, offensively, I'll give Warren Sharp credit for this stat because it's a great stat. So if you look at it, and it's kind of eye-opening, the Packers defense, right? They're number 1 against the pass in the NFL when there's no play action. They're number 32 in the National Football League in pass defense when there is play action. When you look at play action usage, the Jets are the second highest in the NFL. So that would lead you to believe. And so you look at it statistically, I think the Jets are going to be able to make plays. I don't think that Packers defense is where they expected it to be, especially with what they used with high draft choices this past April in the NFL draft. I think the fact that Rodgers doesn't like throwing at anybody else other than, Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb at this stage.
And even Lazard drops the ball.
Yeah, doesn't trust anybody else. They don't run it when they should with Dillon and Jones. They get a little too cute with the pass. I think they can learn from what Wink Martindale was able to do. I mean, the Giants were, they were playing, fourth and fifth corners on Sunday in London, but they dialed up the blitzes at the right time, have an understanding if you watch the game film. And, Carl Banks pointed this out on the Giant broadcast, bringing the blitz to the side that Rodgers wants to throw to and getting the ball out of his hands as quickly as possible. Because the other thing you watch Rodgers now is, and it happens with older quarterbacks, he can't wait to get rid of the football, especially when the blitz is coming.
But he's always been that way. He's thrown those wide receiver screens. He checks it.
It's a little bit of a girly man now is what Moose is clearly saying, Joseph.
No, I didn't say that, but there were times where Martindale got really creative, and he was in Baltimore and has been with the Giants, giving them an identity of bringing 6, 7 into the box. Not all of them are coming, but making sure to, especially in some of those obvious passing downs or what the Packers like to do, to try and make Rodgers make a decision quickly.
Right.
And he's not looking at guys that he trusts. So if he's going to go, similar case in point. Look at the interception at the end of the first half of that Patriot
New
game.
England, yep.
Yeah, where Jack Jones, who's one of the better young cornerbacks, the 4th-round pick out of Arizona State, picked it and took it back to the house. And he's going to be a guy that, Patriot fans are going to love for years to come. But, that was a terrible decision by Rodgers to make that throw. Receiver fell down, but still, Jones knew and ran the pattern better than the receiver did and picked it off and took it back to the house. That changed the complete complexion of that game.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. Bringing the blitz in his face to the side he's throwing to. We saw in the final play of that game. And we'll get to the Giants, but obviously the tip ball by Xavier McKinney, right? Giants were getting their hands on the ball, he has to adjust his throwing arm angles, and then it's an inaccurate throw. But even when in that Patriots game, when he saw that the corners were coming up to take away those quick throws, and he tried to throw over the top, that ball just hit the ground with nobody around it within like 5 yards so many times. He is not on the same page with these receivers, and I know they're young, and he is frustrated. Look, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the best guy to go and learn from, right? I don't think in practice he's going to be taking people under the wing saying, hey, buddy, here's what you need to do. Here's where you're messing up. He's going to say, this is the NFL. Fix it, get better. And I think that's struggling. Look at his comments to the media.
Yeah, I think you see that. And there are times where he's making throws where he clearly is frustrated when you see his reaction about where the route that his receiver should have ran and where he put the football and what his receiver did run.
All right, prediction time. Joseph, Jets, Packers.
So, I think that this is a tough task going into Lambeau Field against the Packers team that is stewing coming off these losses. But I said it last week. I'm down on the Packers this year. I just don't think they're that good. And I think the travel, going to London, coming back, playing the next week, I just think that's a lot. I don't think that they're going to get on the same page with the receivers this week. It wasn't like they had 10 extra days to rest and work out all these kinks. You're exhausted from that time change. And I think that for that reason, this isn't a terrible time for the Jets to be catching them. That being said, I'm not picking against Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau, at least not outright. I think the Jets cover the number, but I think that the Packers end up winning this game by a field goal.
Greg?
I think Joe's lost his mind.
I do too.
I will tell you something. You look at how you're trending.
It's amazing. You're riding high in April, shot down in May.
Yeah, you know what? I think I ride the wave, and right now the Jets' defense and offense are playing better than they have in 4 years. You got to give them credit for that. I don't care who they're playing. That means it's tough for any team. Once you get competitive and guys stop making mistakes, they're tough. They're going to be a tough out. I don't care if they're on the road or not. The line started at 7.5. It's 7. It'll be below that by the time game time starts. And I think that's something to be said about it.
Hey, you predicting line moves over
no,
here.
No, I like the Jets. I'll tell you what. I like the Jets, and I just don't like them by a field goal.
I agree with Joe. I'd probably take the Packers to win the game, the Jets to cover.
Oh, my God. Moose!
Why?
We expect more out of you.
Well, we're 2-2 here.
Yeah. Wait.
Because you're taking the Jets.
Yeah, but who picked the Packers last week? How'd that work out for me?
Well,
not
well,
good. It was
no.
terrible.
But it's
I bucked the
17-3, you were
trend, and I was
celebrating.
wrong. I was. It's a good point. Here's what I'm telling you. Aaron Rodgers has a hurt thumb. It's hurt worse than he's saying it is. The Jets are playing well. I'm riding Buttle's wave.
There you go.
Jets, Jets.
Fireman Ed, make room.
Yes. Yeah, Fireman Ed, move over. All right. Let's move over to the New York Football Giants. So the Giants are 4-1. They look great. My question is, everyone always looks at quarterback. I want to start with the Moose. What have you seen from Daniel Jones in a prove-it year so far?
Yeah, I think he's taking care of the football for the most part. I think
After Tennessee, right?
Yeah, he's using his legs to generate first downs, using the full range. I think he's shown you leadership qualities. Look at the way the offensive line speaks about him. Look at everybody else. I think he's shown you toughness. Coming back from a slight ankle sprain that he had the week previous to play really, really well in Green. I mean, he was really efficient, 21 to 27 for 221 yards or whatever it was against the Packers, and he's orchestrated 2 or 3 fourth quarter game-winning scores this year. He's showing, potential. The Giants have done a lot. Daniel Jones has been here a while. Started with, Shermer, went through Judge, and now he's on his third different head coach. Has seen a lot of different offensive coordinators. Has also been behind a bad offensive line. And that offensive line got embarrassed against the Dallas Cowboys. But, listen to what John Feliciano, their center, said after that game. Quote unquote, I'll quote him directly, the quarterback, Daniel, played his balls off tonight. We did nothing to protect him and did nothing to help him. And that's exactly, I think, what you have seen here from Daniel Jones. He's not Eli Manning. He's not Danny Dimes either. And he hates that nickname. But I would say that he's taken a massive step forward here. I don't know if necessarily means that Joe Shane and Daboll are going to bring him back after this season. I have no idea. But he's playing winning football. You're judged by the end of the scoreboard. The Giants are 4-1.
Joe?
He's been so much more decisive out there. It looks like he knows where he's going to go with the ball. If it's not there, I feel like he pulls it down and he takes off and runs. They put him. I feel like the offense is less complicated, maybe, or just I don't know, because he doesn't have the receivers out there, that he's maybe had in years past. He trusts the guys he does have, though. But he trusts the guys he does have, right? Clearly, he has a rapport with Sills. Clearly, I mean, I saw. A few years ago, I felt like he had a chemistry with Slayton, and he had a good game, some key catches against the Packers this week, and I think he'll see the ball a lot more, especially given the culture that Daboll's building over there. As far as the comment about are they going to re-sign him, look, you can't franchise tag him. I heard some comments going out there. I don't care if the Giants finish 12-5. They cannot franchise tag Daniel Jones and pay him $30 million a year. At the end of the season, if things go the way they're playing out right now and he continues to take care of the ball, he continues to win games for him, then you got to make an effort to re-sign him, and you see if somebody goes and tries to outbid you on the open market. But, he seems more comfortable than he's ever looked before in this offense.
So, Greg, you saw Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in person. You understand defense. You know Wink Martindale. What can he do? And the Jets did a good job of, keeping Lamar Jackson's rushing yardage down. What can Wink do to try to slow him down on Sunday?
Well, first of all, let me just correct you with one thing.
Correct
To know
me two
defense, you
things.
have to know offense. Don't tell me I just understand defense like you just said.
Did I say
That's an
that?
embarrassment. That's an embarrassment.
That is.
That's
Moose.
unbelievable.
You
That's
know all football.
Thank you, Moose.
Moose,
Thank
he's
you.
only here one day a week.
Thank
You
you.
got me 5 days.
No,
a
I
week.
understand.
How dare he come up and
He's
say
also
something
a larger
like that.
man.
Yeah, I was about to
He
say the
is.
damage he could do in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Doesn't
no,
matter.
that's a good point. That's a fair point.
Yeah, that's
You're a
it.
smart man, Moose.
Yeah.
That's just a good-looking guy.
Let's just look at this game. The Ravens are probably the best team the Giants have played yet, defensively and offensively. They've got a quarterback that can make things happen. Just as a simplicity part is it. The Jets were able to contain him to something like 40 yards rushing, I think, at the time of their game. Jets lost 29-12. They only kicked field goals. And so you may be able to stop Lamar Jackson. And let's just say the Giants are able to do that. Their defense is playing pretty good. They've got players, DuVernay and Andrews, that can play. But the Giants' offense has got to score some points in this game, and I think that's the big thing they're
23?
up I don't know if they can.
It's
score.
usually your number.
Well, I know you have to score at least 23, but all I'm saying is I think the Ravens are better defensively match up against the Giants in all areas. They can tackle. They have active linebackers. Their corners are good. You've got players on their team that can disrupt you. So Daniel Jones is going to have to play his best game. And who else is going to help Daniel Jones do that? I don't think it's going to be Barkley, just Barkley to be able to do it. I think that the Ravens are a little better than that. So what are the Giants going to do offensively to keep this in check? And are they able to score more than 23 points against the Ravens defense? I think that's what it comes down to.
So, Moose, Terry Slayton, can he be out of what they have?
Yeah, as long as he holds on to the football.
Is that important?
Yes, I
So
mean-
turnovers are an issue
I mean,
in the NFL.
Right. Drops.
is
It's
what
really
we're looking
drops.
at.
I mean, and that was the knock on him coming out
Yep.
of Auburn, was that he had the size, he could fly, he's got speed, but he had a lot of bad drops in college. And he dispelled that early on, but clearly was in the doghouse for this team to the point where, I mean, there was debate about whether or not he was going to make the team coming out of training camp. But the Giants have got issues at receiver. As good of a Sills is, there's limitations to what he is. There's limitations to what Richie James is. Slayton's a guy that showed you big playability already, so yeah, he can help out. It'd be great to get the rookie Wan'Dale Robinson back, and Kadarius Toney is just a
my
mystery. I have
goodness.
no idea. So is,
Enigma.
Both hamstrings.
yeah, I
now.
mean it's amazing with Toney. He's a
He
guy
only
that's
has
just,
two, right?
He's just
Can't be
never
a third
healthy.
one next
He's
week.
just never healthy. I think Slayton can help. I mean, I
Good.
think he can.
Joe, Saquon Barkley, is he enough? Buttle wants 23 points. Is he enough with Daniel Jones, at least to get to that plateau, give the defense a chance to shut down Lamar Jackson, to get them in a possible win column?
I mean, I think that Barkley's proven. Why am I going to doubt Saquon Barkley this season?
He's
right?
leading the
There's-
NFL in rushing.
There's no. I think is it still total yards from scrimmage? He was at the top going into last
Moose
season.
knows every stat.
He asked the question,
Yeah.
is Barkley enough to
nobody
get him
does it
23
alone.
points?
Nobody does it
Thank you.
alone. Come on, this
saying.
is a team sport.
It
There's
is?
11 guys out on the field.
Some people don't know that.
I mean,
Thank you,
no,
Greg.
He's not going to do it by himself.
Appreciate you.
But I do think that I do think that this Giants offense, right, has obviously the potential. I think Green Bay's defense is solid, and what they did in that comeback was impressive to me. So I think the play calling is creative enough. I think the offense is explosive enough, and I think that Baltimore. I have a lot of questions about Baltimore's offense. I think their
Greg has
defense is
answers.
solid. Well, we'll see.
I was just saying. So Mr. Buttle, as Herm Edwards once said, you play to win the game. The Giants have won 4 out of 5. However, social media is going nuts, calling the Giants the worst 4-1 team possibly in the history of the NFL. Is that fair, or are you what your record says you are?
I love multiple choice questions.
Yes.
I think that's awesome. So I get a choice.
Yes, pick either
This is
one
not
you
a
want.
question. This
No,
is just a
it's
test.
just-
It's not
Choice,
open ended.
just
Yeah,
pick
yeah, pick one, either one.
I will go to C,
Oh,
and that is this.
I
is
asked
that-
3. Look at me.
And I said it about the Jets. Listen, the Jets have played well the last 2, maybe the third game. The Giants have played well the last 2 games. Hey, if they're playing well, there's nothing to say they're not going to play well the following week. It's not the same old Giants. It's not the same old Jets. These are 2 different teams. They're better coached. They've got some players. When you can play and beat the Green Bay Packers with no wide receivers, with all due respect to Slayton, I just think that you have a better shot to start being more balanced, and you have a lot to watch about. So I like it when it comes down to what the Giants are. When it comes down to who they are, I don't know what that is yet. That's the only question.
So, Moose, I'm going to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Because apparently when I asked 3, it didn't work out for me. The linebacker wasn't happy. Do you believe that the Giants are the worst 4-1 team?
No, I think that's stupid. Honestly, I think it really is.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
You are what your record says you
Well,
are.
give them credit. If they were 1-4, everyone would be like, "Oh, it's nothing's changed." So things have changed. They're winning football games now. I'm going to discredit what they're doing.
I love it because it's better to be thought of as the worst 4-1 team than the best 1-4 team.
What do they
Which
call?
is the Commanders,
I mean,
by
here's
the way.
the deal: the Giants make the playoffs. They make the playoffs. You have a home playoff game. The last time the Giants haven't had a home playoff game in years.
Washington football team made it
they beat the Atlanta
79.
Falcons that day, but I mean, who the hell? So I think everyone going out there and giving me the hot take about, well, the Giants, well, they're really not that good. Who cares? Like, if you're a Giant fan, if you're a Jet fan, someone wants to disparage what you've accomplished up until this point, I don't care. Because I've watched a lot of bad football. I've watched a lot of meaningless football. I've watched a lot of people taking shots at my teams left and right. I don't care what you think. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying coming back from 13-0 on the Titans. I'm enjoying coming back from 17-3 down against the Green Bay Packers. I'm enjoying beating the Chicago. Like, I don't care. Like, that does not matter to me. The Giants are 4-1. Are you going to say they're on the level of the Buffalo Bills? Well, no, they're not. They're not winning a Super Bowl this year. But can the Giants go out there and get themselves to the playoffs and feel really good about where this organization is going? Absolutely.
So Moose just predicted the Giants are going to the playoffs. And when you get into the tournament, anything can happen. Joe, what do you think about the Giants? How do you evaluate their 4-1 start?
We know what they call the guy who graduates last from med school?
A doctor.
Doctor. Right.
Yeah.
He's still a doctor. The worst Super Bowl champion of all time.
I don't know if I want to go to that doctor.
Okay, but the worst Super Bowl champion of all time is still a Super Bowl champion, right?
Smart
when
man,
you look at
Moose.
it. So it doesn't really matter. You win the games, and that's it. You're not going to apologize for winning no matter how it happens. You're right. I do have to look into my doctor.
Yes.
But,
Get a transcript.
I look at this. The NFC East right now, you've got 3 teams that are 5-0, 4-1, and 4-1.
And you have one that's 1-4.
And yes, you have one that's 1-4. So look, everybody deals with injuries, right? Everybody deals with adverse scheduling. So you have to win against the team that's in front of you each and every week. And what is amazing about both of these New York teams to me right now is the fact that they are winning these games in the fourth quarter. It is so unlike New York football. We usually give away games in the fourth quarter in New York. It's not that you go out and win games in the fourth quarter, and that's what they're doing this year. They never feel like they're out of a game. And, that's a testament to Dable. That's a testament to Daniel Jones and the fact that he never gets too high or too low. And so there's always that possibility for them to come back in the game. And, I look at this, and we said this before the season started. They have one of the softest schedules in the NFL. And the NFL is built for parity, right? So we've seen teams go worst to first in divisions all the time. That's what makes what the Patriots did in building that huge run with Brady where they won the division that many years in a row so incredible. The Giants have a schedule, and they believe in what this team is doing right now, and that confidence is a scary thing on an NFL team when you believe you can go out there and win every week.
On the schedule this week, the Baltimore Ravens. The Moose is high on the Giants. Are they going to win this weekend, Moose?
No, probably not.
Oh, jeez.
No, I mean,
I can't follow you, Moose.
No, but
I can't figure you
I don't think
out.
you necessarily have to beat the Ravens or potentially make the playoffs. But I think it'll be a competitive game. I don't think they're going to get embarrassed. I think you can throw on that Ravens secondary. But similar to what Greg was mentioning, I mean, it's a Baltimore team that's also, the comeback by Miami. The decision to go for it instead of kick the field goal against the Buffalo Bills, but they also led that game at one point in time 20-3. I just think Baltimore's a better team. Lamar is very, very difficult to handle. If you don't button up your pass rush, he'll escape the pocket and he'll be gone. So I'm going to take the Ravens to win the game.
Mr. All-Time Jet?
I kind of agree with Moose, only because I think the Ravens are more of a better team. And hey, listen, if they give the ball away, the Giants are going to win the game. But I like the Ravens, and I don't like them to blow them out. I like a close game, but I think that the Ravens are going to make the plays at the end because they have the players to make those plays at the end.
No Average Joe?
Well, we know if Tucker's kicking a field goal, then he's going to make the play. The guy's as good at his job as anybody doing anything in the entire world. It's incredible. And I love the way he took the bow last week on Sunday Night Football. It's like Steph Curry going to sleep, when he knocks down the three. The one thing that I will say that is a wild card, I think, in this game is Martindale against Jackson.
Yeah.
And I think that he has shown an ability to scheme. Again, I don't know how that London travel is going to affect the Giants. I don't think in any way is it advantageous. If anything, it hurts them coming back. But I look at some of those throws that Jackson had against the Bengals, where he had opportunities to hit wide receivers open downfield, and he missed those throws in a division game, a game that they needed to win and ultimately ended up doing, but they could have put away. And that's always been the knock on Lamar Jackson is when you get pressure on him, he can't make that throw, right? He crumbles under there. No doubt the talent with his legs, no doubt if you give him time what he's able to do. But when he's throwing under pressure, he can't hit those throws downfield. I think Martindale's going to figure out a way to get pressure on him. I think this game is going to be closer than people think, but I'm still going to go with the Ravens.
With a wink and a nod to Martindale, he's going to stop Lamar Jackson. The Giants go 5-1. Before Buttle leaves, I have one question. Breaking news today. Daniel Snyder came out and said he's got dirt on the other owners, on players, and on the NFL. It's obviously, I don't want to start with Mark because it's a sensitive topic. It's his team. He followed Washington his whole life.
They're terrible.
So, they are terrible. It's not the point. You're loyal. You still love them. Mr. Buttle, do you believe that Daniel Snyder is bluffing, or do you believe his 2 decades in the league that he does have dirt and would use it?
I think it's yes to both questions. The one thing I have is, why is he coming out public and saying it?
It's an NFL meeting next week.
Why is he coming out public and saying
A
it?
threat.
Why does he have to threaten them through the media?
I think it's blackmail. I think they're on Thursday Night Football.
Right.
So people now are paying attention to them. They are 1-4. Moose's team is terrible. And they now have national attention. There's an NFL meeting next week. So I think this is his time to put it out there. You guys want to push me out? Because there's been rumblings that they are going to try to push him out or make him sell. You know what? I'm not going down easy.
I just think I think that he's making it more difficult for everybody around. Everyone has skeletons in their closet. Who cares? It's all about what it is when it comes down to Snyder.
Moose, thoughts on your team? With the skeleton?
He's all flustered here. Everybody's looking at their closets. Mine's
Right.
not big enough to
No,
put
no,
skeletons.
no. I don't have it. No, I mean, I think he's scared that he's going to that 24 voters are going to vote to get him out of the National Football League, and I think he's a brutal owner. I think the organization has been run poorly. I think he's beaten the care out of the Washington fan down there. They've got a dump of a stadium. He's trying to find a new place to put them. They're so poorly run. And then you have all
Do you
the
like the new name or logo?
No, not really.
Anything? How about the Washington Monument? How do you feel about that?
No, Washington D.C. has got to go
Okay.
take the kids at one point in time. But I think
The right
he's
thing to
he's
do.
a brutal. I think he's just been awful for NFL football down in Washington. And I think right now he's probably scared that the walls are caving in, closing in on him, and he's going to go and like somebody cornered. He's going to try and drag other people down with him. I mean, and that's what the threat is. Well, if you think you're going to take me down, I'm not going to go down by myself. So it's a threat to, other owners out there calling the NFL the mafia, all the things saying he's got stuff on Goodell, got stuff on the other owners. So there's always been a reason why a lot of people have looked at Daniel Snyder and said, well, I don't understand if you're the Giants or you're these other teams, why don't you come together and try and get him out of the league? Like, how is Daniel Snyder good for the National Football League? Like, how is Daniel Snyder good for business?
Well, I mean, I think from an owner standpoint, if you set this precedent about team being able to take your team away from an owner, then it just
But
opens
is there
up a
not
can
enough?
of worms
But the
that you
NBA
might be
did it.
vulnerable to.
They
a
took
different
away
league.
the Clippers, and the Suns are going to be taken away.
Different league, and I think that the NFL owners are well aware of that, and so they don't want to open the door to that, in their league.
Well,
They
but
did
the
that with Jerry
Panthers,
Richardson.
the Panthers, they forced him to sell.
Yeah,
They
but there was-
forced
but
him
it-
to sell.
No, but it was more than just the owners. In that the public outcry.
Yeah.
down in
There's a
Carolina
public
was-
outcry. Listen
I
to
don't-
the moves.
But the thing,
But
the thing
listen
is,
to
I don't
what
think
the
there
moves
is,
is saying.
and that's the thing.
I don't think there is still a level of
right.
that.
Why,
Tom Lavero calls FedEx Field Ghost Town Field. Nobody goes anymore.
Yeah, and that's
it was
fine.
the proudest franchise
No.
in the NFL.
Look, that-
the Moose is right.
I
So he's bad
But
for
no,
the NFL.
I don't think he's good for the NFL. I agree with you on that statement. But I think that the public outcry that was present in Carolina isn't present right now in D.C. when it comes to the Commanders. I mean, the noise about this, right, has come from within the league. Like, even if you look at it,
What has it? Congress is investigating.
yeah, but
Joe,
but there's not.
It's not within the league.
No, there's
He has
not
like
people-
4 investigations now.
There's not. It's not. I mean, look at the Jets, right? Like, the Jets had they were flying. Fans were paying to fly banners over the stadium, right, to sell the team. That's not happening right now for the Commanders. The fan
Yes,
base,
it is. The fan
maybe
base is
not.
100%
I think it's
revolted.
I think the point that Joe's making, it's not traveling outside the greater DC area.
Okay, but
Like, there's
it
nobody,
is
like,
in the
when-
greater DC area.
Okay,
they want him to sell,
I
and they
understand,
want
but-
him to sell
but
for a
look at
decade.
but look at
They
Sterling.
took. Wait,
I
hold on one
understand.
second.
You're too
They
you're
took-
too close to this.
I'm
Todd.
not that
You're
close
too
to
close.
it.
You're too
I'm
close.
close to
this.
Moose,
Getting
which I
offended,
love.
Todd.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm not the least bit offended.
You're way too close.
I was offended with the multiple choice question. It was one question. I just asked it a couple different ways.
Yeah.
Because I want him to understand. Sometimes, so I was trying to be clear.
All right.
But I will say this, that he took the proudest franchise in the NFL, arguably. There's a lot of proud franchise, with a loyal following. And now, as Moose just said,
Right, but that's
as Moose
different.
just said, there
But
is no
teams
following.
have been running
Okay,
to the
so wait
ground.
a
Like,
second.
teams have been
Okay, so
running
wait.
to the ground. It has nothing to do with
Can I say
that.
one more thing?
Sure.
Thank you. I took the floor. So here's the other thing, Joe. He was investigated by Beth Wilkerson on running a toxic environment.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's one investigation. The state of Virginia says he cannot put a stadium there because of the way he runs his franchise. So that's off the field, and that's all him.
Right. But that is not calling for you. That is not calling for you to get rid of the team. Think about the timing and think about, like, you
They
mentioned
didn't-
Sterling. Wait, you mentioned Sterling. Think about what happened with Sterling, right? It was racist comments, the tape that leaked, and then the
But
players.
Richardson was
Wait a minute.
sexual harassment.
I-
Dan Snyder was accused of
accused.
harassing somebody
But
on a plane and paid her off.
And so,
And Beth Wilkinson interviewed that woman,
Right.
who confirmed
Let's-
it.
let's talk
So
about-
it's in the
let's
report,
talk about-
but the NFL wouldn't let the report come
no,
out.
I get it, but I mean, we don't have to litigate the entire Daniel Snyder case.
No,
We're not
but
gonna have
he-
enough time here. But no, I get the point that you're making.
Are you running out of tape, Joe?
No. The deal is.
I might. My hard drive space.
Oh,
is
no.
really
All
good.
No,
right.
to play to
So
Joe's
wrap
point,
it up,
I don't know on a
Moose.
New York podcast.
Wrap
if
it
anybody
up.
cares.
Wrap it up.
That's the point.
You're
That's
the one
thing.
that added it to the
That's
blitz.
exactly- that's
You
exactly
added it
what
to the
I'm
blitz,
saying.
Moose.
I did.
You did.
Because it's
So,
an
and this is a
NFL
New York, right?
it's
So
an
this is
NFL
a New York audience.
But this is, I understand.
And obviously,
we have an NFL insider that's playing to his
Gary
strengths.
Myers, who, by the way, last week on the Blitz said that Daniel Snyder, if the NFL forces it, that he would litigate. So that was
Yeah.
pretty good insight.
Yeah, no, that
a
is.
week before this came out.
I mean, it'll be
Way to
interesting
go,
to see
Gary
if they
Myers.
get the 24 votes to go against them. That'll be the interesting
That'll be
thing.
tough. Well, but so can I just ask my one question so we can wrap up the podcast?
You've asked a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah,
One more?
yeah,
Go
one
ahead,
more.
Quizmaster.
Go ahead.
Okay, oh, guys, thank you so much.
Not
I
multiple
appreciate
choice.
this. No, what are you, bottled light? All right, so the one question is, do you believe that his coming out with this perceived blackmail will effectively make the NFL stand down?
No, not necessarily.
Joseph?
I think it'll make some owners stand down. I don't know.
Well-
I don't know how.
well, they
close
need-
the
I don't know how
24.
strong they are. I don't know how strong it is to begin with. I mean,
Right.
you'd have to have that answer. Like, I don't know. if those
Yeah,
are
right,
24
exactly.
votes.
I don't know if that's going to be
Can I
the
have a
deciding
vote? I
vote.
vote
If
out.
Jerry
Yes.
Jones, Jerry Jones, his mentor, he says he's going to take through the trash. Do I think Jerry Jones has a few skeletons in his closet?
Yeah, for sure.
It would
Yes.
not shock me by
I would
any
not be
means.
shocked.
So is he going to throw him under the bus and then that
He took a picture with him last week.
Does that influence Jerry to then be one of the 24 or be one of the, in the opposition or the support? Like, I don't know. I don't know the way that's going to break down and if that's going to change votes. So stand down. I don't know that there's a full court press on him
Yeah.
right now,
All right, do me a favor, Moose. Give a little plug for New York Sports Nation this week.
Oh, 11 o'clock Sunday night, and we at the New York Blitz Saturday night at 10:30.
And if you're interested in hearing more about this Washington Commanders situation,
Big three question. Could be, you don't know.
can hear Gary Myers weigh
Yeah,
in
on
on
the
the New York Blitz.
And when does that air, Joe?
That's Saturdays at 10:30.
Look at you.
As always.
Look at you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. And please tune in to our various shows and watch Pix 11 News as well. And if you enjoyed this conversation, tell a friend and listen next week as well. Thanks again.
Thank you.
It would be the right thing to do. And get rid of Daniel Snyder.